Ready? All right, just wanted to give you a brief update on a couple of issues, on a couple of points actually, all relevant to the incident that happened back on Tuesday with the civil emergency deployment and their deployment of chemical munitions. Um, First and foremost, I'd be remiss though if I didn't talk about last night. Last night was textbook. We had some organizers from the Million Youth March, a couple of people who I've met in the past who did some fantastic work. I'm proud of them. The young people put on a very lawful protest. They got the words heard, they got their message across, message received, and they did so lawfully. So I want to applaud them first and foremost. The other thing is, obviously, the State Bureau of Investigations is reviewing Tuesday night to see if everything was legal, but we're going to take another step. I keep talking about us being a learning agency. We also want to make sure that all of our tactics are within line of best practices. A tactical mistake we can learn from and improve on. A legal issue will create serious consequences. We take that very seriously. So we're always looking to improve. And right now, what we're doing is looking at our policies around how we deploy chemical munitions and what we talk about with this dispersal order. Right now, we give a blanket order, we give it repeatedly, and we expect people to leave, and it's a continuous motion. What we're looking to clarify after conversations with my civil emergency command is when there's a lull, meaning there's been violence and damage, for instance, and then a group moves, as they do quite often, breaks off, moves to another area, and they are protesting still. They're still in violation of the dispersal order. But what we want to do is slow it down as long as there's no imminent violence or damage and start over. Re-emphasizing our dispersal orders so that it's very abundantly clear to everybody what the expectations are. I think we can get better there. I'm just being honest with you. The other piece of that to make sure that that's the case is the Office of Domestic Preparedness, the experts in training for civil emergency units across this country. We're reaching out to them to do a review of those tactics on Tuesday. Listen, I get it. I said that before. It's hard to watch young people being exposed to chemical munitions. It's hard to watch anybody be exposed, but especially young people. So we got to make sure our deployments not just meet the basic legal standard, but the higher standard we're trying to achieve. And I'm proud of our command for our civil emergency who have taken this to heart. So right now we're going to have an external review of that incident by experts to look at tactics. As I said, the SBI is looking at the legality, but that's not good enough. I keep talking about the ethical and moral standard that we want to hold ourselves to, and we'll get there through the feedback to get better tactically as a unit. Here's the other thing. Unfortunately, all of this is overshadowing all of the positive that I see. I spoke about the Million Youth March organizers of last night, hundreds of young people coming together to get their voices heard, to exercise their First Amendment. It was a good thing. It was a great thing to see. And what you also will realize is we accommodated their ability to do so, as we always will. It's our mission. I just hate that Tuesday's overshadowing everything. And I get it. Tuesday's hard to watch. But everything that happened last night gives us hope. What I saw is young people taking it upon themselves to do things within the boundaries of law, but also to be loud in their demands for change and reform. What you see today is a result of demands to get better. Again, for all our people, I really am struggling because so many nights they've been putting themselves in harm's way to keep you safe, to keep themselves safe, and to protect property. And we have one incident that changes the entire story. I want to be as transparent and open as I can be when we look at everything that happened from a legal standpoint and then from a tactical standpoint, with people who are best to do so. I believe we have the capacity to do so internally, but I'm hearing from the public, as we've heard over the years, there's a need to have independence and an external agency do so. So at this point, we're going to allow for two: the SBI for the criminal, for the lawfulness, and then the ODP for the tactics. Lastly, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to all the community members who are reaching out, giving us feedback. Not always easy to take, but that's part of our job. I also applaud all of our officers on the front line doing this work. You've done a fantastic job overall. A mistake, we own it, we can atone for it, we correct it, and then we move forward. That's how we build trust. At this point, I'll open it up to any questions.
And we've got several, Chief.
Yes,
Brett Jensen from BT Radio, and we're going to skip around a little bit and go in order today. Are you aware of any metropolitan police departments across the country that are not authorized, don't authorize their officers to use tear gas or pepper spray?
Well, major cities, I'm not aware of many. I am aware that there's a movement to do so in some of the larger cities, a few of them, but no, I'm not aware of many major cities that have restricted the ability. And the reason behind that is we as a profession are learning from our mistakes too that were made in the 50s and 60s. If you take away chemical munitions and the ability to de-escalate and to get and to maintain and establish order, you're going to have to use physical force. And that looks worse than anything you've seen with chemical munitions.
Hunter Sands from WCNC wanted to know if we petitioned the court to release the body cam footage of the incident which the mortar was thrown at the officer, and if not, why not?
Again, what we're doing is there's a lot of things that you will see. I wish I could do everything that is being asked of me in a day. Not humanly possible, although we're trying. So right now what we're looking at is, as I said, the deep dive and review and assessment of Tuesday. And then sequentially, we're going to respond to everything else.
I think he was referencing the mortar video of that officer standing on the corner that was released on social media.
Oh, sure.
Or did we have to petition the court?
Gotcha. Why didn't we have to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry, misunderstood that question. Mainly because we're looking to bring the person who did it to justice. That was a criminal act, and we want to bring the offender to justice. And to do so, we need the public's help. We'll put the video out to help us identify who that was, so that then we can bring that person into the justice system and seek justice.
And was that release, was that consistent with the statute authorizing us to release that to the public without a petition to the court? Was there an exception?
Without a doubt, there is an exception that allows for that so that we can conduct criminal investigations, which is what this is.
Hunter, again, I wanted to know, the Minneapolis Police Department today banned police chokeholds. Does CMPD have them banned, or will the department ban chokeholds and kneeling on a person's neck? It's
already banned. It's against our policy already. And I applaud any department that hasn't banned them already to do so. We need to. We got to get better than that. This organization doesn't allow for it, and nor should any other organization, in my humble opinion.
He also wanted to know, he said that last night seemed a little bit different in the stance. They, the media, he himself didn't see lines of police officers on bicycles blocking roads and coming face to face with protesters. Wanted to know if there was a change, why there was a change in tactic, and want to know specifically if it had anything to do with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department Facebook living the protest.
What it had to do with is what we react to. Again, our strategy is always, we're going to facilitate First Amendment. That's what our people do. That's why you see the bikes blocking traffic, to allow people to walk in the street safely. So that is, and when we don't have violence, when we don't have people attacking us or damaging property, we can do that. When we have people who are becoming aggressive and damaging property, we have to restore and maintain order, and the tactics have to change. So we were allowed the opportunity to facilitate First Amendment rights, and we did so, in my humble opinion, fantastically. But I also have to give credit to the organizers of that march, who maintained order throughout the whole time by policing themselves.
Council Member Braxton Winston is calling for defunding new purchases of all chemical agents next year. Media wanted your response. Amanda Zoe from The Observer in particular.
I don't deal in hypotheticals. I deal with what happens. All I can tell you is this. Without the ability to disperse an angry crowd or a violent crowd that is damaging property and assaulting people with chemical munitions, we're going to harken back to what we experienced in the 50s and 60s of physical force, which is absolutely unacceptable to me. I think we're better than that as an organization, and we definitely should be better than that as a city.
Any other policy changes that are coming down the pike that the department's looking at changes? And that, again, that was from Hunter from WCNC.
Other than the ones I've mentioned so far, that's yet to be determined based on what we see from the experts of ODP. If they say they see enhancements that we can employ, we will.
Justin from Queen City Nerve. He's gotten a lot of attention. It was his video that really prompted this whole conversation. It's his video that captured the event out there on Tuesday night. He's on the line and wanted to know if there'll be subject matter experts on the ground available to the press during the protest for dialogue with community members. I think his question, and I spoke with him last night, I think he's referencing specifically subject matter experts that know about dispersal orders, the nuances of it, how they're supposed to be executed.
We can arrange for that conversation. It depends on us having the opportunity to do so. That we don't control. That's going to be based on what we see as people are protesting. If the opportunity allows for it, we'd love to engage in that conversation, but we're not going to engage in a conversation that doesn't allow for two-way communication. That's not very effective.
Mike Stolt from SOC wanted to know about the petitioning the court for the release of body-worn camera footage of the incident. I don't know what incident he's referencing specifically, but he does say, if not, can you please walk us through why the video is allowed to be released? I believe what he's referencing is the mortar,
right?
Which
again,
I think you've addressed already.
The difference is there's a suspect who committed a crime that we're looking for, and the exception in the law allows us to release that so the public can assist us in bringing that person to justice.
Amanda from The Observer wanted to know how frequently riot control agents and other equipment are used in CEO. How frequently are they purchased?
Yeah, I'd have to get that answer. I'm not sure. It's not very frequently because they're not used very frequently. Generally, we have lawful protests virtually every day of the week. So when they become violent and destructive is when we have to change our methods. So not very often. We'll have to get the specific of how often, and I don't have the answer with me today.
Justin, again, from Queen City Nerve, asked if you would acknowledge the fact that the incident that happened on Tuesday evening on 4th Street was planned. Was this an orchestrated strategy?
What I can tell you is there was forethought in what should be done to disperse the crowd. And I can also tell you the tactics that were deployed were not what we wanted to see. So again, I don't want to get into it too deeply because, again, that's going to impact the independence of the investigation that the experts are going to do to lay out everything. And then we'll talk about the finite, the nuanced details at that point.
Amanda from The Observer, I wanted to know how come the SOPs, the standard operating procedures concerning the civil emergency unit, the bike unit, the motorcycle unit aren't publicly available, even with redactions?
Again, very good question. That's something we're looking at as well. But the standard operating procedures are methods and means which get down into the safety and security of our people. It talks about the tactics that we have to use to counter aggression in certain situations, and I'm not going to get my people hurt. So the law protects our ability to give you what's public, which are the directives, but not the standard operating procedures that get into the methods and means of the tactical way we go about them. That would jeopardize safety, so we don't release those.
Amanda followed up and wanted to know how long you expect the State Bureau of Investigation's review to take on the 4th Street incident.
Wish I knew, hopefully soon. It is a review, so a matter of a couple of weeks. I'm hopeful that it should be done in a couple of weeks, but that's a question for the State Bureau. We don't own any part of that review.
Brett Jensen, WBT News, are you going to take part in the City Council meeting on Monday night? to make your case? I suspect he's referencing the budget.
I don't really have a case to make. My requests have already been submitted. Will I be in attendance? Yes.
I'm not sure who this is from here. I don't see a name, but it looks like they're asking, will you just refer to Tuesday's mistake, or made some kind of reference to the mistake on Tuesday? They want to know if this is an acknowledgement that gas should not have been deployed.
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying tactically, I believe we could have been better. And again, I can't get into the specifics of that yet because we have an independent review that's going to answer all those questions. What I can tell you is don't like how it looks, and I want to get better.
Amanda, with the Observer, along with the State Bureau of Investigation review, the ODP tactical review, will there be any internal affairs investigation concerning the 4th Street incident?
Absolutely, always. There'll be an internal investigation for every day that any munitions or force was used. So yes, indeed.
Justin, again from Queen City, NERV, have you been able to confirm about officers firing pepper balls on the crowd from an elevated position during Tuesday's incident?
Again, all of that will come out, but what I can tell you is the only time that can happen is when they're firing against a flat surface, a wall, and they cannot fire at people, and they did not fire at people. Everything else, again, will come out in great detail when the experts do their deep dive and assessment.
And he followed up with the question asking if there are any plans to implement training tactics for civil emergency unit officers to identify and not only identify, but remove individual agitators from protest groups rather than dispensing or deploying the entire crowd with munitions.
Very good question. We try to be strategic. That is a part of how we do it strategically. The issue is, like last night, when you have people in the who are protesting, they best police themselves, not allowing people to turn that from a lawful protest to a riot. The threshold is pretty clear. When you start throwing things and assaulting people and destroying property, it transitions, and we're going to have to adjust our tactics. But do we try to strategically extract individuals who are causing trouble? Yes. There's evidence of that in every one of those engagements, virtually every night except last night, and definitely not during the day when they're lawful and we don't have to do any enforcement actions from a civil emergency standpoint.
Brett Jensen, WBT Radio, will you speak to City Council about the department's need for tear gas?
We have a need. It's pretty clear. That's why we make our requests. I'm going to respond to any questions that they have as to why we need those chemical agents, and I just explained it. You take those away, you're forcing our hand to use other tactics that I think are a lot less sanitary and a lot less humane, to be quite frank with you. I don't like physical force, don't like the use of batons, and I'm hoping we'll have tools that allow for us to de-escalate situations without physically forcing people to do what we're telling them they lawfully have to do.
Amanda Zoe would like some clarification on the terms that would be appropriate when we talk about specific riot control agents.
Sure.
Would it be CS gas, pepper balls, flashbangs, rubber bullets? If they're used at CMPD, how would the media, how should the community refer to them? What should they refer to them as? What are the terms?
They're chemical agents, and we can give you a further breakdown. Again, the Office of Domestic Preparedness is going to do a full assessment, and we'll release the information that shows you definitively everything used, why, and also they might have recommendations of things that we may use in the future that might be different, but they're going to validate everything that we're doing. I mean, everything that we use and how we should best do it tactically.
It's a wrap. That's a little light today on the questions, Chief. Anything you wanted to wrap up with?
Yeah, to the community, to the city. Thank you for so much support for our people. To the protesters, I applaud you for getting your voice out, as long as you're doing it lawfully. Last night and every day of protest has been a model of what it should look like. You see, when you're doing it lawfully, we're going to accommodate. We're going to go all out to make sure you do so safely. as long as you're doing it lawfully. But at night, when it changes, we ask those people who are influential, the leaders within the group, to help us keep the behavior within the boundaries of law so that we don't have to talk about chemical agents. We don't have to talk about civil emergency unit. We can just talk about the themes that are being brought forth that can help us responsibly reform and become a better agency and also a better profession. Thank you.